I 33 am married to Monica 31F, and we've been together for 13 years, married for 8. This situation involves her younger sister Hannah 25F and her boyfriend Ronald 24M. Some background about the family. Monica has 2 older brothers, Jack and Wilson 34M and 36M, who live in different states and aren't really involved in day-to-day family matters. Their parents are well-off business owners who've always supported their kids financially when needed. I've known Hannah since she was 12 to 13, basically watching her grow up from a shy, awkward teenager into a successful young woman. She used to be extremely reclusive during her early teens, barely leaving her room during family gatherings and struggling with social anxiety. Her parents were actually worried about her future because she had trouble making friends or even talking to people outside the family. Everything changed when she started college 5 years ago and met Ronald. At first, he seemed like exactly what Hannah needed. He was outgoing, social, and really helped bring her out of her shell. Within months of dating him, Hannah started going to the gym, making new friends, and generally becoming more confident. I remember telling Monica how happy I was for her sister's transformation. Their parents were thrilled too and really welcomed Ronald into the family. The problems started showing up gradually. Ronald was in his second year of college when they met, but he kept failing classes. He blamed everything from difficult professors to unfair grading systems. When he failed out completely, he convinced everyone he'd found his true calling in a different program. Hannah's parents even supported this decision, saying everyone needs time to find their path. When they decided to move in together, Hannah's parents bought her a small studio apartment near her university. It was meant for Hannah while she completed her engineering degree, but Ronald moved in immediately. He never contributed to rent or utilities, just paid for some groceries occasionally. I found this weird but kept quiet since it wasn't my business. The red flags kept piling up. In his new program, Ronald kept failing and repeating years. He always had elaborate excuses. The university lost his paperwork, the system crashed during course registration, professors had personal vendettas against him. The most ridiculous incident was with Monica's aunt Sarah, who works at a prestigious university. Sarah offered Ronald an internship position in her department. This was a golden opportunity, the internship was paid, would count towards his degree requirements, and could lead to future job opportunities. All he had to do was submit an official application through the university system. For 3 months, he kept saying he was working on it. When Sarah asked about the delay, he'd say the system was glitching or he was waiting for some document. At Christmas dinner, when the family naturally asked about the internship, Ronald smoothly deflected, saying we should focus on holiday spirit and not talk about work or studies. He never submitted the application, and Sarah was embarrassed for putting her reputation on the line for him. This was the first time I really saw through his act, but everyone else seemed to buy his excuses. Things got worse during Hannah's final year of engineering. She had several crucial exams that would determine her graduation and job prospects. The night before her most important exam, Ronald got drunk and started banging on their studio apartment door at 3 a.m., yelling about how she spent too much time studying and didn't pay enough attention to him. Hannah barely got any sleep that night but still managed to pass her exam. This wasn't an isolated incident. Just 2 months before that, he broke up with her the evening before another major test, saying she had changed and wasn't fun anymore. Hannah was devastated and couldn't focus on studying. The next day, after her exam, he showed up with flowers saying he had overreacted and couldn't live without her. She forgave him, like she always does. Now Hannah has graduated and landed a great engineering job at a reputable firm. Meanwhile, Ronald finally found work as a mini truck operator in a warehouse after 6 failed job interviews in other fields. The job was simple, following a computerized list to move items from point A to B in the warehouse. But after 4 months, he started complaining about workplace harassment from his team lead. According to Ronald, his supervisor was sabotaging his work by changing his task list and setting him up for failure. This made no sense because the entire system was automated. The workers barely interacted with supervisors except during brief morning meetings. But Ronald's complaints and attitude got so bad that he became miserable to live with. He convinced Hannah he should quit and find something better suited to his talents. That was 6 months ago. Since then, Ronald hasn't worked a single day. He spends all his time playing online games while Hannah handles all expenses and most household chores. His excuses for not finding work get more absurd each week. Recently he claimed he was rejected from a company because the team was all female and they told him directly they didn't want male employees. Anyone with basic knowledge of employment laws knows no HR department would ever say this. The most concerning part is how he hides his unemployment from Hannah's family. When her father visited last month, we accidentally mentioned Ronald being home midday. He was surprised, so I assumed Ronald had told him about quitting. Turns out Ronald had been telling the family he works from home doing consulting work. Hannah looked uncomfortable but didn't contradict him. I want to talk to Hannah at Christmas when I know I can get her alone. I'm worried about her future with this guy. If he can't handle basic adult responsibilities now, how will he manage if they get married or have kids? He can't keep a job, constantly lies, and doesn't even help maintain their home when he's there all day. I'd understand if he wanted to be a stay-at-home partner, but he doesn't even do that properly. The problem is, I'm known for being direct and sometimes too blunt. Monica has specifically asked me not to interfere because she doesn't want to damage her relationship with her sister. But I feel someone needs to wake Hannah up before she wastes more years on this guy. I think she stays with him partly because her entire social circle came through Ronald, and she's afraid of being alone again like in her teenage years. So Reddit, how do I approach this conversation without pushing Hannah away? I need tactical advice because subtlety isn't my strong suit. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my original post, and I wanted to update everyone on what happened. First, thank you all for the advice on how to approach the conversation with Hannah. I tried to follow the suggestions about being gentle and coming from a place of concern rather than judgment. During Christmas, I waited for the right moment when everyone was dispersed after dinner. Hannah was alone in the kitchen getting more wine, so I took my chance. I started by asking how she was doing at her new job and if she was happy. She seemed surprised by my interest but opened up about some exciting projects she was working on. Then I carefully brought up Ronald, asking if he'd had any luck with job hunting. Her whole demeanor changed instantly. She got defensive and said I wouldn't understand their situation because Ronald was working on bigger plans than just regular employment. I gently pointed out that plans don't pay bills, and that's when she broke down. She started crying and revealed things were much worse than anyone knew. Ronald had maxed out their joint credit card buying gaming equipment, new consoles, and subscription packages for various online games. We're talking about nearly $8,000 in debt that Hannah is now paying off monthly while also covering all their living expenses. The worst part was when she showed me their credit card statements. Ronald told her he was spending money on job application fees and online certification courses. But the charges were all from gaming companies and food delivery services. When she confronted him about it, he turned it around on her, saying she was suffocating his creativity and that he needed these games to network with people in the gaming industry where he planned to work. She also revealed that Ronald had been emotionally manipulating her whenever she suggests he take any available job to help with expenses. He accuses her of not believing in his potential and threatens to leave, knowing she's terrified of being alone. He reminds her of how she was before meeting him, socially anxious and lonely. Their entire friend group consists of his gaming buddies and their girlfriends, so she's afraid of losing her social circle too. I suggested she talk to her parents about the situation, especially since they're still helping with some of her expenses thinking she's doing well. But she refused, saying she was embarrassed. Apparently, Ronald has been telling her family he's developing a revolutionary gaming app and just needs time to perfect it before seeking investors. He's even showed them some sketches and mock-ups he downloaded from the internet, passing them off as his work. The conversation seemed productive at first. Hannah admitted she'd been having doubts but needed someone to validate her concerns. She even mentioned looking for her own apartment secretly. I felt good about finally addressing the situation. But everything went sideways the next day. Ronald somehow found out about our conversation, probably saw messages on Hannah's phone or she told him herself. He called Monica in a rage, accusing me of trying to destroy his relationship. The things he said were disgusting. He implied I had inappropriate feelings for Hannah and was jealous of their relationship. He told Monica I had been messaging Hannah secretly, completely false, and had tried to make a move on her during our kitchen conversation, absolutely ridiculous. Monica was initially shocked by his claims but thankfully didn't believe him. She's known me for 13 years and knows I see Hannah as nothing more than a little sister. But Ronald didn't stop there. He started calling other family members, telling his twisted version of events. He painted himself as a hard-working entrepreneur being sabotaged by his jealous brother-in-law. Some relatives actually believed him. Monica's brothers Jack and Wilson, who barely stay in touch normally, suddenly started sending me angry messages about minding my own business. Even Monica's parents called, asking why I was causing problems in the family. They said Ronald had shown them his app development progress, those fake mock-ups again, and they believed he was on the verge of success. They suggested I was just jealous because I work a regular job while Ronald was pursuing his dreams. The only positive outcome was that Monica finally saw Ronald's true manipulative nature. When he called her ranting about me, he let slip some things that didn't add up. He mentioned working late nights on his app, but Monica knew from Hannah that he actually stays up playing games. He talked about investor meetings that Monica knew never happened because Hannah had mentioned he hadn't left the house in days. Monica tried talking to Hannah after this, but Ronald had already poisoned that well. He convinced Hannah that our entire family was trying to separate them because we were jealous of their special bond. He told her we didn't want her to be successful and independent like him. Now the whole family is divided. Most people either believe Ronald's lies or want to stay neutral to avoid drama. Hannah isn't speaking to me or Monica. Jack and Wilson have taken Ronald's side completely. Monica's parents are upset with me for stirring up trouble. The only person firmly on my side is Monica, who finally sees what a manipulative person Ronald is. I feel horrible that my attempt to help has somehow made things worse for Hannah. Now she's even more isolated and dependent on Ronald. But at least the truth about his character is starting to come out. I just hope Hannah realizes it before he drains her financially and emotionally. Several people messaged asking if I regret getting involved. Honestly, no. Sometimes doing the right thing has messy consequences, but that doesn't make it wrong. I'll update again if anything significant changes. Update 2. It's been 2 months since the Christmas drama, and things have taken an even darker turn. After my last update, several people messaged me suggesting I look deeper into Ronald's financial activities since his behavior showed classic signs of addiction. I passed this advice to Hannah through Monica, not expecting much response given how Ronald had turned her against us. But last week, Hannah called Monica crying. She had discovered Ronald wasn't just gambling with their joint credit card, he had been stealing money directly from her personal account. She only found out when her card was declined at a work lunch. When she checked her account, she found dozens of small transfers to various online gambling sites, cleverly disguised as subscription services. The total stolen amount was over $15,000. When Hannah confronted Ronald, his reaction was frightening. Instead of showing any remorse, he exploded in anger, accusing her of spying on him and violating his privacy. He claimed he was investing the money in online gaming tournaments that would make them rich. When she asked for proof, he said she was too stupid to understand his business strategy. But the financial theft wasn't even the worst part. While checking their shared computer for banking records, Hannah found Ronald's email open. There were dozens of messages proving he'd been lying about job interviews. Instead of attending interviews as claimed, he was meeting his gaming friends at internet cafes for all-day gaming sessions. He'd even borrowed money from these friends, telling them Hannah was financially abusing him by controlling their accounts and not giving him spending money. The emails also revealed he'd been lying about his app development project. The mock-ups he'd shown her parents were actually stolen from a real development team's website. He had just changed some colors and text to make them look original. He'd been using these fake mock-ups to convince Hannah's parents to keep supporting them financially, claiming he was close to getting investor funding. When Hannah tried to kick him out, Ronald revealed his true colors. He refused to leave since his name was on the lease agreement. Then he made a chilling threat: if she forced him out, he would tell her engineering firm that she was mentally unstable and had threatened to harm herself. He knew her firm had recently lost an employee to suicide and took mental health concerns very seriously. Hannah was terrified of losing her career, so she stayed quiet. That's when Monica and I got involved again. We helped Hannah document everything: the unauthorized bank transfers, gambling records, threatening messages, and proof of his various lies. We also discovered he'd opened several credit cards in their joint names that Hannah knew nothing about. The final straw came when we found messages showing Ronald had tried to convince Hannah's parents to invest their retirement savings in his fake app, promising huge returns. Thankfully, they had asked to see his business plan first, which he could never produce. We finally convinced Hannah to tell her parents everything. They were initially shocked and blamed themselves for not seeing through his lies. Her father was especially upset because he had defended Ronald against my warnings at Christmas. But they quickly moved from guilt to action. Monica's brothers Jack and Wilson also came around after seeing the evidence. They apologized for believing Ronald's lies about me and offered to help deal with him. Even the relatives who had sided with Ronald started distancing themselves when they learned about the financial theft and manipulation. Right now, Hannah's parents are consulting with lawyers about how to legally remove Ronald from the apartment and protect Hannah from his threats. The banks are investigating the fraudulent credit cards and unauthorized transfers. Monica and I are helping Hannah document every interaction with Ronald in case she needs a restraining order later. The saddest part is realizing how many years Hannah lost to this manipulation. She kept making excuses for him, just like he made excuses for himself. She believed in his potential even when all evidence showed he was just using her. Now she's dealing not only with financial damage but also the emotional trauma of realizing their entire relationship was built on lies. I'll update again when we figure out how to get Ronald out of Hannah's life permanently. The legal process might take time, but at least now everyone sees him for who he really is. Final update: it's been 5 months since my last update, and I'm happy to report that Hannah is finally free from Ronald's manipulation. The process wasn't easy, but with her parents' help and legal support, we managed to get him out of her life. After consulting with lawyers, Hannah's parents helped her execute a careful plan. They hired a reputable law firm that specialized in tenant disputes and domestic issues. The lawyers found that despite being on the lease, Ronald had violated several terms by engaging in illegal gambling activities from the apartment. This gave us leverage. The lawyers also helped document all of Ronald's threats about damaging Hannah's professional reputation. They drafted cease and desist letters warning him that any attempts to contact her workplace would result in immediate legal action. This helped ease Hannah's fears about her job security. While Ronald was out during one of his gaming sessions, we helped Hannah move everything to a new apartment her parents bought in a secure building with surveillance cameras and controlled access. The lawyers had already prepared paperwork terminating the lease agreement based on Ronald's violations. We left these documents along with proof of his gambling and threats at the old apartment. Ronald's reaction was exactly what we expected. When he returned to an empty apartment, he completely lost it. He tried creating drama on social media, posting long rants about how Hannah had abandoned him after he supported her through college and helped her overcome her social anxiety. He even claimed he had sacrificed his career to help build her confidence. But we were prepared. We had documented proof of his gambling, the stolen money, fake job interviews, and his attempts to scam Hannah's parents with the fake app project. Most of their mutual friends initially sided with Ronald out of habit, but their support quickly faded when he kept asking them for money and places to stay. Several friends contacted Hannah to apologize after Ronald tried scamming them too. The only ongoing issue is that Ronald keeps trying to contact Hannah through fake social media accounts and mutual friends. Sometimes he plays the victim, claiming he's changed and misses her. Other times he makes threats about exposing her past anxiety issues to her workplace. But Hannah blocks every new account immediately and has saved all threatening messages for legal documentation. Hannah is doing much better now. She's started therapy to work through her self-esteem issues and understand why she stayed in such a toxic relationship for so long. Her parents have been incredibly supportive, helping her rebuild her savings and establish better financial security. They've also stopped blaming themselves for not seeing through Ronald's lies earlier. Monica's brothers Jack and Wilson, who initially believed Ronald's lies about me, have apologized profusely. They even offered to help if Ronald ever tries causing trouble again. The whole family is closer now, having learned the importance of trusting each other over outsiders. Looking back, I'm glad I trusted my instincts and spoke up despite facing initial backlash. Sometimes being direct and confrontational is necessary when someone you care about is being manipulated. Hannah recently thanked me for being the first person to challenge Ronald's behavior instead of enabling it like everyone else. Ronald still lives in our city, apparently moving between friends' couches and still claiming he's working on his revolutionary gaming app. But he's no longer our problem. Hannah is focused on her career, healing, and building genuine friendships that don't revolve around gaming or Ronald's manipulation. For anyone in a similar situation wondering if they should speak up, yes, you should. It might get messy initially, but watching someone you care about being manipulated and staying quiet is worse than dealing with temporary drama.